Dear friends, good night. Thank you for joining us for tonight's evening. This has been the fourth time for me to hold this speech annually. So this is the fourth time, and I think that it's appropriate for us to hold a bigger event. So we select the location at the National Meeting Center. It can hold around 8,500 people. And again, I sincerely appreciate everyone's joining us here today. Graduation event in Wuhan University. As an alumni of Wuhan University, it's an extraordinary honor to me, to my personal, and express myself in front all of the alumni of mine, also the students and janitors. And the theme of this event will be the past happened in Wuhan University. I majored in computer in Wuhan University when I was young. And there was a book named The Fire in Silicon Valley, started the ambition for me. I still remember the star was very shiny at a very special night. I walked around the playground over and over again. I feels like there is a blast of fire burning inside my heart. And therefore, the fire of dream was ignited. However, as a freshman, I had nothing back then. It was very dreamy for me to imagine that I could hold such a big company over that night. And I get more and more confused as I deepened my thinking. And back then, I settled my mind. I need to be extraordinary. So I made myself to fulfill a very different ambition. The very special goal was for me to complete all the GPAs within 2 years. Many people, including my classmates, were never thinking about this goal ever before. Imagine that you need to finish over 40 courses within 2 years and complete over 2 times of the review and test. That is very difficult. And when I think that goal deeply, I faced tons of difficulties back then. But how did I accomplish that? There are 3 hardcore goals I need to do. So if you have any relatives that are currently in a university, you can share their story with them. And the very first one is how to choose courses. I was very worried back then because I know nothing about that university. I was quite an introvert back then. Frankly speaking, I was an introvert. And I was cornered, so I need to figure out a way to accomplish my goals. So here's my solution. So I found my townmates. I found a few senior brothers of mine. They teached me for hours and hours, introduced me about the courses for me, and let me figure out which courses should be majored in first and which can be delayed. They even shared their books, their notes to me. And after this was an experience for me, and I believe this will help you too. Don't think about that the questions and problems can only be solved by yourself. Believe me, find someone you know and find someone who knows this question and get their advices. You just need to ask. It seems so simple to everyone, but it's really difficult for everyone to do. And this was the very first experience I collected when I was in my university. And the second problem is how to self-study. I believe everyone here have this same problem as mine. The computer major was derived from the mathematics major in Wuhan University. We didn't major in sophisticated math, but it was very difficult, another type of math, over 10 times of difficulty. The book was very difficult for me to read, and I was frustrated by that. So I thought I maybe need to give up. But I forced myself to study. I forced myself to read all the articles, but if I found something that is difficult for me, I'll just skip it and read the next part. Just like reading a novel, you skip the part you don't know. You just need to put the book away after you finish reading it for 1 or 2 weeks and then start to read again. So, how did we do this? We always thought that the knowledge was linear, but not all of them are. There is no definite front and back for knowledges. So it might be easier for you to comprehend the later part of the knowledge, then it will help you to understand the frontal part. I tried many different methods. By only relying the knowledge we gained in school is definitely not enough for us. There are so many differences between mobile phones and automobiles. So, the study abilities is the key. You must master different ways of studying. And therefore, the third part is study forever. Speaking of which, this is the third difficulty. How to handle check-ins. I don't know if any of you in colleges are still being checked in by teachers, but we were. Because I skipped some of my courses, so I'm not quite familiar with every college student of mine. So what should I do back then when some teacher lecture started to check in, but I don't know? I'm not acquaintance to my classmates. This is my solution. I just have one simple question. Why every lecturer likes to check in? Well, I figured out that it might be a way to force the students to study hard, to make sure that we didn't get lazy. There are so many classmates likes to sit in the directly visible to my lectures. And during the breaks, I will go to my lecture and propose questions to them directly. So my lectures will have impression of me. Therefore, check-ins in the future will no longer be a problem to me. And with those three difficulties handled, I succeeded for finish all the GPAs within 2 years. During this process, all my classmates were very friendly. Of course, the lecturer's help is necessary as well. I'm very grateful to my alumni. And I'm very thankful for everyone's help. We majored in computer, so it's quite limited for us to just major in GPAs. So I set up my second goal to become an excellent programmer. I believe that this is the so I made myself to set up a goal to become an excellent programmer. There is only a very small PC for all the classmates for us, so there is only one computer. I studied that computer a few days ago. The performance was very weak. And the most desperate result would be that one computer was chained to over 20 terminals. and every student can only use for 2 hours, 2 times per week. It was very hard for us. But how should we do? The first way for me is to utilize the computer whenever I'm free and that computer is available. I started to become an acquaintance to the janitor in that room. And whenever the computer was turned on by our lectures, I'll just silently standing aside of him to utilize the limited time for me to operate the computer. Also to improve the typing efficiency for me, I copied the keyboard to me and I pasted on my desktop. And therefore, I trained myself to use the QWERTY keyboard. I bet that if you ask the elderly lecturers, they will know there was a student tapping on the desktop and made everyone confused. And they know that whenever the tapping started, it's time to go. I also have another trick for me to do when I don't have a computer to use. I pull out all the programs in my books that was the best in the best. I'll just write the codes directly on my paper, and I made myself to do the best. There was a lecture named Pascal Language Programming when I was in the second year of the university. I'm very excited about having this lecture. And I try to help my teachers with their keynotes, so I will gain more time to utilize the computer, personally. A few days ago, I saw a line of program code said that this was my program code on Zhihu. This was a little tool I wrote when I was in college. There were many people utilized my tool back then. And then I go open sourced directly. It was like 30 years ago. As a programmer, I'm a little bit excited about my achievements. Then my third goal is to post my essay on newspapers. When I have the goal of posting my essays on lecture newspapers, someone proposed that I should collect all the results for me to study the computer virus and to make them an essay. I invited Dr. Zhang here today. He gave me so many helps when I was young. I also invited Mr. Tao Jiateng, Dr. Tao, who taught me programming language when I was young. I heard that in our major history, there are only 2 people with full marks. Back in 1990s, there was the first surge of computer virus in China. I wrote an antivirus program that went viral. However, I accorded to Mr. Zhang's approval and advices, I made all those results into papers. I was quite excited after I finished my essay. But the teacher told me that my handwriting was not very good. He said, if you do your handwriting better, there will be a bigger chance for you to get selected. But I thought that was mostly to brag about himself instead of giving me advice. Therefore, I sent the essay to professional publishers. After half a year, my essay was selected and published. I never thought the very first time of my publishing was very successful, be published. I never thought about that publishing an essay would take over 2 years. After I got selected, I posted my essays to the third anniversary of the seminar, and that was the only time for me in my life attended a seminar. When I get review of my personal life, I reconsider that maybe some goals that you thought was very hard for me, it might not be that hard for you. So you just need to do it. Just do it. And this is the biggest thought after I published my essay. It was not that hard as you think. And this was my journey when I was in Wuhan University. Maybe because a book, a person, or some experience his or her dream were being ignited. And then tried to minimize the goals and do those step by step. Just because of that goal, of that dream, you made impossibles into possibles. And this journey paved the path for my future. After I finished my GPAs in Wuhan University, I started to do something interesting. During the second year of my college life and during the Labor Day, I contacted one of my brother, and he was studied and worked in an internet company. I visited his office very often, and the reason why I like to go there is because they have so many computers. Whenever there is a customer, I will take care of them. They think that I was worked here, but I was just simply trying to get familiar with computers. And I'm very thankful to that owner of that company. After I got more familiar with Mr. Wang Quanguo, we made a pact to write an encryption program. And I believe we selected this program is because it's difficult for us to do. We want to do something difficult. After we shut the door, the whole company becomes to only ours. We only have 2 computers. One is for programming and the other is for testing. After we get rich, we said, if we could get rich, we will buy 2 cups of. We often write codes until the 2 or 3 a.m. next day. We called playing games the exercise. There were 2 long sofas there, and one is for mine. No matter how late I go to bed, I have to get up early. We done this for over 15 days. And then we released our BitLock encryption system on time. It was released in 1989, the August. It was priced over 2,000 Chinese yuan. It was a lot of money back then. After it got released, it was quite influential in the computer area. Many programmers and developers were fancied about our project. After we upgraded the software for generations, so after 6 or 7 years, maybe in 1995 or 1996, I had a major success when I was in the third year of my summer break. If I didn't do this with Mr. Wang Quanguo, I couldn't complete this such a big goal. Without Mr. Wang's experience or his help, I could never imagine I could do this. And therefore, I believe no matter how powerful a man is, it's limited. Find someone who completes you, you will become easier together. And I became a timeless friend with Mr. Wang. 30 years later, we took a group photo like the logo of Kappa. I also invited Mr. Wang to be here today with us. Thank you. Thank you for your help back then. Then I just roaming in Wuhan Electronics Street for over a year. There was a senior classmate told me that he wants to start a business. And I think this is an opportunity for me to express. And then we rent a room in a restaurant. And we named the company Tricolor. We had 4 team starters. We all imagined that we could accomplish something big. And we were very ambitious. We always worked very late until the next morning. And here's the problem arise. Who's